I know you did a lot there, but that's really dope. And the first thing that comes to mind is like, I guess you when you were first starting your story, you were like, I know I had to get bread. I had to get bread. I had to make sure I'm straight. But what I'm seeing from you now is like, I'm there. Obviously you still always want bread, right? But you're at this point where you're like, man, how can I bring up people around me? And I want to, before we talk more about the tour and what you're doing next, where did you feel like that came from? This feeling that you had to take care of the people that were like you, because at the end of the day, when you're in America, you're by yourself. You got to just take care of yourself. But you purposely went out of your way to bring people up. So I'm kind of curious, like, what really made you passionate about that?
Wow, that's a heavy question. So you know, being Nigerian, you're Nigerian too. We don't our parents don't just give us names just to give us names, right?
Mm.
They're not just gonna be like, oh, that's a cute name. Let me just name this baby that name, right? We have names that's heavy, that mean stuff, right? One of my names is Onyaya Lawanea. That's an Igbo name that means, you should, thou shalt never forsake your brother. You never leave your brother, right? You always gonna be your brother's keeper. You're always gonna hold your brother down. And I was given that name based off of things that was happening, you know, in my father's extended family at the time, where he was always there for his brothers. He was always there for his siblings. He was always there for the extended family. But because I'm the first child, but I came 6 years after marriage, which in the 80s, if you think it's crazy now in all them African movies where the woman hasn't had the baby yet, she's barren. Hey, what happened?
Yeah.
Imagine in the 80s, bro. My
Wow.
mom didn't have a baby for 6 years, like, three miscarriages, like all kinds of, like, she went through it.
Hmm.
So they were talking crazy. They left my father alone. Like they literally, like, this was a man who was always there for them. So my grandfather was like, that's the name for this child. You know, you should always be your brother's keeper. You should always be there for your brother. And it wasn't until I was a little bit older I started to realize a lot of the things that I've done in my life have always been based off of that. I've always done things for my people. And that's another reason why we call the tour the For My People tour. Because if you look back, I just gave you the example of when I came to Maryland and I was like, what do you guys do to make bread, right? People told me all kinds of things, bro. But one of the things that I ended up doing was throwing African parties, bringing African artists, like Nice, for instance. Nice, the
Yeah.
artist, Nigerian artist, Nice.
Hmm.
We were the first people to bring Nice to America. Like, here in Maryland, he performed 2007. That was the first time that any African artist got paid over $10,000. That they hit that mark. So
Wow.
if you look at everything that I've done from that point on, throwing parties, it was always African parties. Then I start doing comedy and I reach back and I get my boys and I'm like, yo, I need to put you in a position where, like, bro, I had comedians who were making 100,000 in their sophomore year, working only on weekends. Young kids killing it, you know. So think about that, right? And think about that piece of it. Then the tour that we're doing, bringing everybody together, to go on stage. Oh, they're calling you a social media comedian. Well, guess what? Now you've been on stage. The video is out there. The pictures is out there. You're
Yeah.
not a social media comedian anymore, right? If you look at everything that I've done in my life for the past like 15 years, Paul, it's been for my people.
Hmm.
So it's not something new. It's always been, but now I'm intentional about it because the pandemic showed me that, yo, we have to be intentional about what we're doing.
Yeah.
Donald Trump showed me that we have to be intentional about what we're doing because there's evil people out there that if you're not intentional, they will play with your life.
Yeah.
So now I'm intentional about everything that I do. So between the comedy tour being for my people, between creating jobs in Africa, like right now we have about, and this is just personal businesses that I run with my spouse, we have 21 people on payroll. It was 15 by December. We started a new business, which is the Launch Studio. So people should go there. It's like a digital marketing. They make like flyers, websites, everything. It's an all-woman tech firm, all women
Mm.
tech company in Lagos, Nigeria right now. We hired 5 people that is doing that. And my goal with all the other businesses that we have, the goal is now to get to at least 50 people on payroll by the end of the year. So the point I'm trying to make to you, Paul, like everything that I do
Hmm.
is for my people
Yeah.
across the board.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
just bought my parents a house. They're about to move into it like next week. Like every single thing I do now is
Yeah.
for my people. So I'm being intentional about it. And now I'm talking about it a little bit more. I'm
Yeah.
bringing it
Yeah.
all together
No,
so that
it's
way people
good.
can see it,
Nah.
and they can inspire people to be able to do more too.
Nah,
But
it's good.
I appreciate you going down that route, man.
No,
Thank
I
you.
mean that's a great answer. And the reason I wanted you to explain that is I think when you talked